All right, guys, let's talk about branded Chimera. My variant is a little bit different than other people's. Now, as far as your staples go, of course, you're playing 3 Codal. I mean, this is, of course, you're playing Codal. You have to play Codal. Activate in hand, bring out this guy, usually, Mirror Swords Knight. It also is a good ash bait. Mirror Swords Knight, get him on the field, pop him, quick effect, priority quick effect, keep in mind that. So it gets around some cards. Bring out Baphomet. He is going to bring this guy and this guy from the deck to hand, fuse into, but we'll go into that later. Most people that are familiar with branded Chimera or Chimera engine in general, you know about these cards. I have these at 2. That's pretty standard. When in reality, I'll be honest with you, there's times where you could want 3, but you do not want to draw this guy. You don't want to draw this guy. You just want him to be in the deck. He can brick pretty hard. This one is at 3. Mandatory. This is a card that can get you out of a lot of problems, because say you do have these 2 in hand and you wind up with a Codal, and let's just say you drew Chimera. So basically you can bait the Ash with him, bait the Imperm, whatever, and then go into Chimera Fusion. Or you get lucky, then you got 2 Chimera Fusions in hand, and you can, in some cases, go into 3 different fusions on turn 1. So I would definitely keep that the way it is. The Chimera Fusion, some people play 2, some people play 3. I play 3 because if you're playing against Runic or something like that, if you lose this card, if this card gets banished, you're done. I mean, there's no winning. I say that. You still have the branded engine, so that will be what we talk about next. 3 branded fusion, 2 branded opening, 1 Aluber. Some people play 2 Aluber. I think 1 is fine. This is another card you almost don't want to draw it. You would rather draw some of this stuff. You would rather draw some of the Chimera engine, to be honest with you. Hold on one second. Let me get this over. You would rather draw branded fusion, branded opening, because branded opening, typically for me, that's going to be ash bait. But if it resolves, it works out good, because then you got a body on the field and you actually can use it. But in most cases, you draw this a lot. You draw branded fusion a lot, so most people are ready for this. Most people are playing Ash. So if you don't want to get Ash, you're going to have to play all these in hopes, to bait out an Ash, or Imperm on this, whatever. You'd rather Imperm this than one of the fusion monsters. So that's our branded package. You could also count this in the branded package. And then, of course, where's Albaz? Of course, Fallen of Albaz. Springen's Kit is one that it could go. I would almost sub that out for another Hand Trap or Super Poly, something like that, because you really want to be able to special from hand, because it's just going to make it a lot easier. You don't want to waste your normal summon on this. So this card can be pretty bricky. I don't really like seeing it unless I need it. I know that sounds very, matter of the fact, but I would much rather have a Fallen of Albaz in hand than this, because every now and then you get lucky. They don't have anything for this. You normal summon this, fuse off one of their monsters, and that's super powerful. That wins games. So I'll count that in the branded package. Now, as far as the other engine I'm playing the Edge Imp. The Edge Imp it's one of them. You don't want this guy in your hand, really. I mean, he makes good fusion fodder because he is a fiend, and we'll talk about the extra deck in a minute, and I'll show you some combos with it. You want this. Another card that is good ash bait, because none of these cards are critical for the win condition, but this makes really good ash bait, and if it goes through, then you get 2 cards. So that's pretty good. And he has an effect to engrave. When he goes to the graveyard, you can add a Fright Fur card from your deck to your hand. So worst case scenario, you can pop him in the battle phase, take a little damage, and then hopefully get that, and then maybe go into a play in main phase 2. So that's the Edge Imp chain. The Edge Imp package. Let's see, I think that's all the monsters. No. We're playing 3 Fenrir. 3 Fenrir is insane. It's another card. You don't necessarily want to see it going first. But if you do see it going first, it's not that bad. It can really buy you some. It can buy you an extra turn, or get you another chance at something. Worst case, it can be fusion fodder. Not for much, but it's something, and it's a free banish, a free an extra discard. If it goes through, it's another ash bait, imperm bait. But it's a great card, and it can win. It can win duels. It really can. 3 Fenrir. My new build, my next build that I'll talk about. I'll probably make a video later today or tomorrow. I'll talk about it. It's not gonna have that, but I kind of regret it. I'm playing 2 imperm. You're gonna find out why in a minute. Let me look at the hand traps. 3 ash standard. Amazingly, in this format, ash is not that powerful. I mean, decks have just found a way to play around it. There's so much ash bait. Everybody's baiting you. You just got to know when to use it, what's the best time to use it. But in some decks like Dragon Link, you can be out of luck, to be honest with you. If you ash the wrong thing, or even if you ash the right thing, there's always going to be something that they can do, it seems like. But for some decks, it just ruins them. 2 Super Poly, you're like, why not 3? Okay, so the Super Poly wins games. It really does. It clears boards, it wins games, but it can be bricky with 3 in the deck. Luckily, you can Super Poly your own monsters. It's just it's just one of those things. You just don't want to see it. I'd rather see the Chimera package, the branded package, something else than this. Now going second or going first. Good thing about it is a going first or going second card. But again, I think 3 is a little bit overkill in this deck, especially when you see what I have next. So we have Thrust, Triple Tactics Thrust. This is a card that I don't want to say it wins duels, but I will say it'll extend. It'll definitely extend. I'm not playing. I'm not big on link monsters in this build, so stealing an opponent's monster for the end of turn a lot of times don't really do anything. In some cases, you can fuse them. It just depends on what they are. But usually this card, it comes up, I think this card comes up less than any other card in this deck. I know with some decks, they kind of depend on Thrust right now. But this one, that can be sided out. But, I'll show you the side deck in a minute. And then finally, the Cross-Out package. This is a unique one. I really like the Cross-Out package. So that's why I can kind of get away with 2 imperms. I'm playing imperm more or less just to prevent my own monsters from being impermed. And then I'm playing enough to where I can imperm somebody else. But imperm is another one of them cards where it's just, it's great, but it has a very specific time and place. So if you're playing spell heavy decks or something like that, you'd much rather have the ash. If someone ashes you, you can use the Cross-Out designator. If they imperm me, you can use it. Super Poly, you can use it. Fenrir, I actually Fenrired somebody's Fenrir the other day, and that was interesting. They were really surprised when I did that. But yeah, I mean, cross out, it's a great card. But that can be sided out. So let's go into the extra deck. Extra deck's gonna be very standard. You have Renbrum. Renbrum is one of those things that it's great in very certain circumstances. I'm not gonna go into the combos just yet. Garura, Super Poly Target, of course. Rescue Ace. This is how you beat Rescue Ace right here. Super Poly, Garura. That's one of the only ways. Pretty Plant, of course. I mean, that card comes up a lot. Magnum, the reliever. If I was going to delete anything from this deck, it'd probably be this, but it just has this time and place, and I just don't want to cut it. Chimera. I can't remember. Yeah, playing 2 Chimeras. This card, you want to see this card. It rips a card from hand. You want to see it. This card is kind of weird. It's your beater. This is your beater of the deck. Going second, if you get this guy out with enough material, he can attack multiple times, and this can be the game winner. But there's times where you don't want to bring him out on the first turn, and I'll go into that later. Mirror Jade, everybody knows that. People are tired of this card probably. It's basically a free banish. You send this to the grave. I usually send this to the grave so that I have a last resort. If I can't finish them that turn, I can basically summon this guy back or Fallen of Albaz, depending if he's in the grave or not. Make sure he's in the grave before you send this, or unless you know it's going to be in the grave very soon. Albion, Lubellion, I mean, of course, you know, that's basically a free extra fusion. Mud Dragon, Super Poly Target, Starving Venom. This card wins games. Guardian Chimera at 2. Guardian Chimera at 2 is non-negotiable. I mean, in this build or any Chimera build, this wins games. It's a big body and it has a great effect. But be sure when you use that effect that they actually have 2 cards on the field. Or 1 card, depending on where you're going from. Just make sure you use the right material, or it's going to be null and void. Albion, I like going into this one. This is typically what I'm going to go into with Branded, and depending on what I got in the grave and all that. But this is my preferred choice, and it's at 2. You can bring out all kinds of stuff with that. So that's the extra deck. Side deck. Let's go into the side deck. And this is just one of those. I just kind of threw this together. I mean, I put thought into it at the same time, but you got 2 Droplet. I think I'd put that at 3. I find myself really wanting that at times, but Droplet, it can mess you up too. I mean, just honestly, it can mess you up if you don't have the right cards in hand. It can kind of be of a waste. DD Crow, you know, self-explanatory. Banish that target in the grave. You know, great deck. Great card, but it doesn't come up as much as you would think in this format. Spell removal, I'm playing 2 Cyclones, 1 Twisters, 1 Harpy's Duster. Mandatory, but you don't want this, you know, going first. You want this going second, in my opinion. I mean, it works both ways, but you need these. You need spell and trap removal in this meta. Skill Drain, when it works great. It literally just absolutely destroys and shuts down most decks. Well, a lot of decks. There can only be 1. It doesn't hurt you that bad to use this, but there's some decks out there that it hurts really bad. But yeah, as far as the side deck goes, that's it. I'd probably put this at 3. Take one of those. Probably take the Twisters out, or maybe just take the Cyclone. I like seeing all these. This one has cost. This one has cost. This one doesn't. Harpy's just so OP. Oh my gosh, that card, when it goes through, I mean, you're literally like, oh yeah, this duel's over.